Good evening, directors. Tonight I'd like to show you a short 16-minute video on a recent accident that occurred on the Dumbarton Bridge. The accident was captured on a trial dash camera that we're using. It's very grainy, unfortunately, so we're looking for a different vendor to do the same thing, but I think it really illustrates and highlights the challenges we're facing with the traffic that we're seeing, an increased amount of traffic that's occurring on our roadways. As I mentioned, this accident was on the Dumbarton Bridge. The camera that you're seeing in front of you that's videotaping is on engine 1. Engine 1 is responding with truck 1, and they're currently, in the video, you see them approaching the Middlefield and Willow Road intersection where they go against traffic because there's nowhere to go. Come up on the intersection, the driver pauses, looks left, and makes the decision, because of the design of Willow Road and the congestion on Willow Road, to go into Palo Alto and down University Avenue. The closest engine to this call is engine 2. Unfortunately, engine 2 is currently at this time on a medical call, which means that not only does truck 1 respond from station 1 with the extrication equipment, engine 1 also responds along with the next closest engine, which is engine 77 coming from Belhaven. So we're now in Palo Alto responding through their city. We're working on a protocol with Palo Alto to at least give them notification that we are passing through their city. My concern is when we do this that they know we're there and we know where they are, because we're operating on 2 different radio frequencies. But it's important that they allow us to use this route for critical emergencies, and in discussions with their fire chief, he's happy to do that as long as there's an actual purpose behind it. Unfortunately, the purpose in this case is for a significant or reported significant accident on the center span of the bridge involving somewhere between 2 or 3 vehicles. Majority of the time going through Palo Alto is actually easier going, as you'll see, than it is through Menlo Park Fire District. The reason for that is the design of the roadway. For those that would say it's all about the bike lanes, I would counter that Palo Alto has no bulb outs on University and has no center medians. Those center medians, those bulb outs, are really what constrict traffic for the fire district in its response down any roadway like a Willow Road, because it allows people know where to go. And we'll see that as we come into East Palo Alto with the center median, and the crew or the driver of this unit will have to actually go against traffic again. You can see that they're doing that through portions of Palo Alto, but as they enter East Palo Alto, as the traffic backs up into East Palo Alto, specifically as they cross in over the San Francisco Creek and at the Woodland intersection, you're going to see pretty much at that point the engine will travel almost the entire distance once it crosses over the Bayshore Freeway on the opposite side of the roadway. That's not ideal. It's not what we want to see, but it is what it is, because again, road design affects our ability to respond. And even with traffic preemption, there is absolutely no way, even if we turn the signals green, for the units to work their way through essentially gridlock traffic. It would be way too difficult to do that. So they're going to do it here where they have to, as they're moving in across the San Francisco Creek and working off the right side. Again, not ideal, because vehicles are taught under the DMV rules and training to pull to the right, so you have to be careful passing on the right. I know some have said we can use bicycle paths to pass on the right. I would prefer we not do that, because that's actually going against what people are trained to do, which is pull to the right when an emergency vehicle is coming up on them. But I'm sure here, even though we can't hear the audio, that at times the captain is on the public address system giving instructions for people to move out of the way in certain directions. I'm not positive that occurred on this call, but that's not an unusual practice when people freeze up and don't know what to do at times when they see emergency equipment coming down upon them. So as we cross over the Bayshore Freeway again and come up on the East Bay Shore intersection. You can see, again, roadway design in East Palo Alto does not allow for them to get to the right. It has a difficult time here even going to the left, as you'll see they'll have to go around the center median, which is very similar to what we have in Menlo Park on Willow Road. And they wait for the traffic to clear and they start to move around it. This call came in on August 27th. It came in at 5:31 p.m. and engine 77, as I mentioned, our Belhaven engine, arrives at about the 15-minute mark as it works its way down Chilco and down Bayfront Expressway in gridlock traffic. And engine 1 and truck 1, again shown here, will arrive essentially about a minute later, because the engine located right here coming up on the Runnymede and University intersection, engine 2, is out currently on a medical call. But you can see as we come up on the intersection here where the station's being built on the right, they wouldn't have had any easier condition to get down to the call, although it would have been a shorter distance, so ultimately hopefully a faster response time. In total here, the engine 1 will spend about 6 minutes going through East Palo Alto, and primarily will be responding against traffic on the wrong side of the road, which again is not what we want to see. Each year the district has about 8,000, just over 8,000 calls for service, and we're averaging that about 500 of those per year over the last 6 years are going to be for vehicle accidents. There's a pattern every day, typical that we see, which is that we have vehicle accidents primarily in the morning hours during the commute and primarily in the afternoon, evening hours in the commute. In the standards of cover report that you reviewed a few months ago, you can see here firsthand now the difficulty that our units have responding to any type of emergency when there is this type of traffic. And as was mentioned in that report, the stations are in the right locations, but unfortunately, and very typical to the east side of the district, East Palo Alto, East Menlo Park, the ability for units to get over from the west side of Bayshore Freeway is very difficult, and made more difficult based upon the time of the day and the location of the emergency. And that includes for cover units when the two units on this side of the freeway are out, or when they need supplemental help for an expanded emergency like we see here, which would be 2 engines, a truck, and a battalion chief who are responding to a vehicle accident, again, almost center span on the Dumbarton Bridge. As the engine approaches and gets through the lower part of East Palo Alto, almost to Bayfront Expressway, located directly behind them will be Battalion 1. Battalion 1 chose to go down Willow Road and is about a minute behind this engine on his arrival. One of the things you'll see as the engine approaches University and Bayfront Expressway here is when they make the turn, they did have the option to use the bicycle path on the far right side. That's used at times for emergency vehicles. I know when I was a driver we would use it. When I was a captain, I instructed people to use it. In this case, they choose not to do that, which is fine. There's only one entry point here. It is narrow, but it does support emergency equipment. It would be something we want to see upgraded for that purpose, because it allows us to bypass all the way to the base of the bridge. Behind them, which you can't see right now, Battalion 1 is actually using the bicycle path. After he's come down Willow Road versus University, he is actually at Willow and Bayfront gotten in the bicycle path and is traveling in the bicycle path behind them to get to this call. Now they're on Bayfront Expressway. There's really nowhere for them to go, and they're going to try and split the traffic here. As we get close to the 5 minutes and 46 second time frame here on the clock, meaning that it's at 5 p.m. and 46 minute timeline, that's when the engine in front of them arrives on scene. Again, that's engine 77 that has worked down their way from Bayfront and Chilco to get there, and we're going to be coming up on that time here in a few minutes. I'll let you know when that is, but that's when that engine is on scene. They're allowed and able to use, at least there's a little relief with some additional space on bayfront on a shoulder lane. That doesn't always occur. You can see they're successful for a lot of the traffic to move over for portions of the travel here. But this, even as you would imagine, this ends, and maybe pay attention to, know that this ends as they get closer to the bridge. So as you get closer to the bridge, they're coming up on our training center on the left, which is behind the PG&E substation. You'll see this left side shoulder lane will start to diminish and actually disappear, and all that does is put them back into the mainstream traffic because the road narrows even further. And that's part of the problem. As the freeways are widened to allow for more capacity and add additional lanes, what we've seen is that they start to lose the medians on the side of the roadway where we can actually have vehicles get out of the road. In this particular case, on Bayfront, we're going to lose it coming up here as we get on the bridge. If you pay attention to the recent modifications to Bayshore Freeway, you'll see that we lose that capacity as we look at the freeway walls, and we have our doors every 1,000 feet in those walls, so we can use those doors for water supply. It used to be you could pull off the freeway, service the doors, be on the side of the road. We can no longer do that because of the additional lanes that were added. And I don't think we're complaining about that because it's better for traffic to pass through and allows for more volume, but the concern is obviously there's really no sanctuary or safe location when they do that for vehicles to pull off the road and for emergency equipment to get off the road as well, because that means that part of the vehicle is still in the roadway. So you can see the lane is going to start to diminish here, and that's going to cause them to have to come back into the number 1 lane, and that requires then that everybody graciously move out of their way and work together and not run into each other and allow each other to move over. Some people are better than that than others, and we're almost at the time where engine 77 will be arriving on scene. So we've lost the left side of the roadway, we've lost the number 1 lane now in terms of the shoulder, and they're responding now, trying to move traffic out of that lane. So you can see some vehicles are able to get out of the way, some are not, and there really isn't a good place for them to go. Again, I apologize for the quality of the video. We're very happy with the dash cameras in terms of their capability, obviously, and what you can see, because you can travel along with the engine company or the crews, but we're not happy with the quality of the video. And there you see, coming from the Fremont side, the opposite units, which is Fremont Fire Department, an engine, a CHP vehicle, which will have to come around as well and get on the same roadway to go back up, and even if not used, go back to Fremont. So this works both ways. Obviously, sometimes we'll go across the bridge and the accident will be on the other lanes going westbound, and Fremont will be on scene and may or may not need our help, which is fine. If we don't help them, just the turnaround at times could take anywhere from 15 minutes to, in some cases, over an hour in the worst case scenarios where we're committed to the scene and then eventually released. So it's a long time to be out of the district, and it takes a long time, even under good conditions, to make the loop back around in Fremont and get back in the fire district. So engine 77 has arrived now on scene at the call, and they find essentially a 2 vehicle accident, and out of those 2 vehicles, they will eventually, with the help of engine 1's crew, truck 1's crew, package 3 patients, and they will transport all 3 in one single ambulance to the hospital, and a second lane will be open. You'll see one lane will be open, which is part of the problem here, that one of the 3 lanes will be open for traffic to pass. When the call terminates, they will open up a second lane, and one vehicle will be towed, and then Highway Patrol stays on scene for an extended period of time to have the second vehicle removed. The ripple effect from this accident backed up traffic for well over an hour, if not maybe 2, and basically this becomes the plug in the proverbial bottle here, if you will, or pipeline. And you can see the accident coming up. All the drivers are forced to go to the left side. See the tow truck's on scene, so the tow truck will be able to take one vehicle but not both. And directly in front of the tow truck will be one of the vehicles that's nosed into the wall. And to the left there you see the second vehicle that's involved. They'll pass Engine 77's crew. You'll see the patient briefly. They're down on the shoulder with the patient. They'll park past the motorcycle. And in a moment you'll see the truck pull up and pull in front of Engine 1. And right after that you'll see Battalion 1 pull up, and we'll terminate the video. But the time for response here we have now is that Engine 1 and Truck 1 have arrived on scene at 16 minutes from the time that the call was dispatched and they started responding. Again, Engine 77 arrived at 15 minutes, and Battalion 1 will be arriving here at 17 minutes. And you'll see he'll pull right between, for protection, he'll pull between the truck and Engine 1. And when he arrives on scene, we'll go ahead and terminate the video. Gives you a good idea of how difficult it is out there. Not ideal in terms of how we would need to respond or would choose to respond, but gives you a sense of the difficulties of these pieces of equipment weighing somewhere between 40,000 and 70,000 pounds trying to move through traffic, very large. Obviously a truck, the largest piece of equipment, trying to move through rush hour traffic daily. And that's the reason that we're moving to these dash cams, so that people can see what we see specifically for accidents like this, and not so much to see what we're doing on the accident, but to see what the conditions by which we're having to perform, and the conditions that really deteriorate our response times. That's my biggest concern. People need us to be somewhere quickly. Obviously this is fairly quick, especially when you're going the wrong way for 6 out of 16 minutes on the roadways, but that's not ideal either. So with that, this is the end of the video as the Truck 1 crew goes in with medical equipment, super sorb as you saw there to clean up, and that terminates the call. Thank you. Take care.